6 years ago, he killed my friends. He almost killed me.
The souls of the children, give me strength.
You are the last of the Elm Street children.
This is my series to dissect films, the good and the bad of them. Let's all get comfortable with each other at the local psychiatric ward in 1987's A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. Welcome to Why You Hate. It's a very interesting situation if you think about it. You have a horror franchise that has just started to move the needle. Add to the fact that the second film, Freddy's Revenge, was critically panned. Fans wanted to latch onto Freddy, yet didn't understand what Part 2 was trying to do. A third film was a path for New Line Cinema to lay claim to the horror space that was still dominated by that guy murderizing teenagers in New Jersey. Of course, the elephant in the room was direction.
We're fine!
Would they go back to brass tacks with the foundation that Wes Craven built in the original classic, or should they continue to get weird and throw shit at the wall to see what sticks like in Part 2? It's all mathematics to those in the know. Robert Englund plus the sweater, hat, and glove plus imagination equals cold, hard cash.
You can take that to the bank.
Enter director Chuck Russell, tasked with navigating a path to either make Elm Street work or break it. The question is, would his decision be the saving grace of the franchise, or will it lead fans to jump away from it faster than Philip did when he got punked out by Freddy's magic puppeteer trick? Let's get down to brass tacks. So get ready to dream of being a star and be welcomed to prime time. Try to kick your habit by being a badass. Face the fear that you hoped you defeated. And never fall for that sexy nurse that smiles at you, because there's no chance that she is going to join your team, even if she gets half naked. Here are the reasons why you hate A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. Number 1. Story. During a hallucinatory incident, young Kristen Parker, played by Patricia Arquette, has her wrist slashed by dream-stalking monster Freddy Krueger. Her mother, mistaking the wounds for a suicide attempt, sends Kristen to a psychiatric ward where she joins a group of similarly troubled teens. One of the doctors there is Nancy Thompson, played by Heather Langenkamp, who had battled Freddy some years before. Nancy senses a potential in Kristen to rid the world of Freddy once and for all. Dream Warriors was the recipient of a story that had multiple layers with character arcs, full of consequences traveling all over the place, and yet came together in a fluid, satisfying manner. Horror films take note. This is a blueprint on how to craft a film with multiple new characters, bringing back legacy characters, and pushing the mythology further ahead in a creative and groundbreaking way. It took hard work, though. Everything wasn't sunshine and rainbows early on in production. As a matter of fact, some of the early developments was some straight wacky-ass shit.
Bullshit!
Wes Craven's original premise of the film involved Freddy invading the real world and haunting the actors and crew responsible for the A Nightmare on Elm Street films. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? This idea was inspired by Return to Horror High from 1987, which was another meta horror movie at the time. However, it was rejected by the studio for being too ambitious, though Craven was later able to use it for New Nightmare in 1994. According to Wes, he decided early on that there had to be a group of people fighting Freddy because the souls of his previous victims had made him too strong for one person alone. The idea for the mental hospital treating the Dream Warriors was not just some riff on One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest from 1975, but instead inspired by real-life establishments. At the time, there was the kind of movement of such places that even advertised on television. Send us your troubled child and we'll make them okay. and essentially they were like prisons or insane asylums.
You fucking cockroach.
Wes Craven had nothing to do with the first sequel, A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge in 1985, as he didn't want the original classic to spawn a franchise. He also disliked Freddy's Revenge for its substandard script and the liberties it took by having Freddy Krueger appear outside of people's dreams. When the second film outgrossed the original but was critically panned, the studio was unsure whether they wanted to continue the franchise. Craven was asked for new ideas, so he came on board with the intention to expand his original concept and to write a conclusion to the series. He had to decline the director's chair, though, because of his commitment to Deadly Friend in 1986. Ironically, Craven's script was rewritten so that, quote, a lot of the reasons I had agreed to do the picture were taken away, end quote. Even more so, the success of Dream Warriors ultimately prompted 4 more sequels and the crossover with Friday the 13th. Joseph Rubin was the studio's first choice to direct a film, having already directed the similarly themed Dreamscape in 1984, but was forced to decline due to already having signed on to direct The Stepfather in 1987. And let's just be clear, The Stepfather from 1987 is an underrated classic of the slasher subgenre, and if you haven't seen it, you need to. He instead recommended his Dreamscape co-writer Chuck Russell for the job, and so the journey would begin.
Flip, flip, flop. We're fine! We're fine! We're fine!
Dream Warriors is the only film out of the first 6 to not begin with a nightmare scene. The quote attributed to Edgar Allan Poe, "Sleep those little slices of death, how I loathe them," is highly disputed as actually being from Poe. However, there is still a chance he could have just said the words. But make no mistake about it, Dream Warriors was a bonanza for the studio. It was a coming out party to show that they were ready to compete with the big studios. It was the first film from New Line Cinema to receive a national theatrical release of 1,300 theaters. Prior to this, their films were released on a regional basis, opening in several cities one month and moving to other cities the next. This movie takes place 6 years after the original classic and 1 year after Freddy's Revenge, but many hardcore fans of Freddy's Revenge felt betrayed that Dream Warriors ignored it.
Drop my phone!
They also wanted more of the weird direction that Part 2 was setting up. Do you think Dream Warriors was a good follow-up after Freddy's Revenge?
Yeah, bitch.
I know there's a lot of debate about it. There's good things that were in Freddy's Revenge, and there were things that didn't hit the way that they wanted it to. But either way, what a roller coaster this franchise has been.
Jeez.
Number 2, characters. Heather Langenkamp returns as Nancy Thompson from the original Elm Street, the prototypical final girl that inspired tons of horror characters, came back. I can't even describe the feeling I had when I saw her come into the room to help calm down Kristen. It was like a dream come true, pun intended, because we never saw what exactly happened to her after Nightmare 1. According to Nightmare 2, she went crazy, but yeah. Nancy's role in Dream Warriors showcases her growth from a frightened teenager to a more confident and resourceful young woman, reflecting Heather Langenkamp's own growth as an actress. Her role was a surprise for many fans, as her character Nancy Thompson was not initially expected to return. The return was met with enthusiasm from fans who appreciated the continuity and the chance to see their favorite character once again. Chuck Russell made his directorial debut with this movie, but the original script by Wes Craven and Bruce Wagner needed work because it called for a $20 million budget to pull off the effects. Even though Russell and Frank Darabont scaled it back considerably, it was still ambitious for the $4.5 million budget that they got. The result was an incredibly tense set, not a particularly ideal setting for Patricia Arquette to make her film debut. On her first day of filming, the production was already so behind that they didn't get to her scenes until 4 a.m., by which point she had forgotten her lines. It took 52 takes of her feebly making her way through it before they simply fed lines via cue cards behind the camera.
And you blew it!
You blew it.
Arquette has stated it wasn't a pleasant experience for her, while Russell said he might have pushed her too hard. Ultimately, this was too bad of a situation for Patricia just starting out in the business. Patricia Arquette as Kristen was easily likable and also a character you rooted for, in part thanks to her absentee-ass mom. Was she as dynamic as Nancy in part 1? No, but in Dream Warriors, as part of an ensemble including the returning Nancy, she fit in just fine for what the movie called for. Wes Craven worked with two different Arquette siblings. Patricia Arquette was in this movie, and her brother, of course, David, would become famous playing Dewey in the Scream series, the first four of which were directed by Wes Craven. Craven also worked with their father, Louis Arquette, who played a sheriff in Scream 2 in 1997. Robert Englund admits that he knew Patricia Arquette would go on to be a big star one day. He also explains how all of the guys on set were head over heels in love with her. Between takes, some of them would even go to England to get his advice on whether or not he thought they had a chance with her and should ask her out. Oh, you have to love the 80s.
You're cocked, locked, and ready to rock.
Winona Ryder auditioned for the role of Kristen, but director Chuck Russell felt that Ryder was too young for the role. Lisa Wilcox and Leslie Dean had both auditioned for the roles. They would later be cast in the following sequels, with Wilcox playing the role of Alice Johnson in A Nightmare on Elm Street 4 and 5, and Dean playing the role of Tracy in Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare. Ken Sagos stated in an interview he really didn't want to audition for the role of Kincaid, but his agent talked him into going. On the day of the audition, he walked into a heavy rain to catch a bus to the location. He showed up completely drenched and had to sit and wait for a few hours due to the auditions running late. When it was his turn, director Chuck Russell told him, "Do whatever you want to do." Ken was so frustrated and mad about the whole ordeal that he yelled, "Fuck you," and then proceeded to scream and cuss out Russell. Russell immediately hired him. Kincaid is a character that can't be forgotten, and that's for sure. He stood out with his no BS personality, but what made it all work was the charisma that Ken was able to inject into Kincaid, even giving him a vulnerability in a tough shell. And it all came together very well, as you can tell, because his character was given equal screen time with the other main Dream Warriors. Jennifer Rubin was told by some of her fans that her character of Taryn had caused them to quit drugs, and the actress is very proud of that fact. She played the role very well and was likable, even though she had a hardened personality because of her life. During the first session meeting with Nancy, Taryn says, "Everybody has bad dreams." A similar line was spoken by Nancy when she was consoling Tina in the original Elm Street. Although Nancy is meant to be in her 20s, approximately 6 years older than the teenage Dream Warriors, Heather Langenkamp is actually 2 years younger than Taryn White, as Jennifer Rubin was born in 1962. Rubin was intense, definitely badass, but also caring, a difficult character to balance, and it could have easily fallen off of the cliff. Jennifer states that Joey used to be a debater in school, but at the beginning of this movie, Joey is mute. He later regains his speech, implying that Freddy was responsible for traumatizing him into a mute state. Rodney Eastman wasn't given much in terms of dialogue, obviously, but because one of the most memorable dream sequences in the series,
How many fucking times do I have to tell you?
and you know exactly why, and the saving voice power that he launched at the end of the film, he became and still is a fan favorite. Number 3, Freddy. Okay folks, let's take off our red and green striped sweaters and get comfortable. This is where Freddy literally rose to the top of the mountain. There was nothing and nobody standing in his way to horror villain legend status, not even our favorite hockey masked killer in New Jersey. In my opinion, it was the dialogue, the personality, the charisma. Some fans, and that may be you, say that this was the signal of the franchise's downfall, and maybe they, or you, are right. Every sequel after Dream Warriors tried to one-up Freddy's personality, dialogue, and one-liners. It started to overshadow the fact that he is a dream demon that is to be feared and respected. That being said, Robert's performance was outstanding and proved why no one else can do Freddy better than he can. This was the first Elm Street picture Robert Englund was awarded profit participation. According to Englund, quote, "I signed on right after we negotiated my back-end profit-sharing deal, even before ever reading the script. I told New Line I hadn't done the previous 2 films for money, but I felt I was an important part of their success. They agreed, and I got a small percentage of the picture." End quote. For 1 week during filming, Robert Englund was working 24 hours every day. By day, he was wrapping up filming on his television series Downtown in 1986, and then would report to the Dream Warrior set at nights. So you can imagine what could happen next. Once, after a tiring day on set, Robert Englund fell asleep in his dressing room, still in full Freddy makeup. When he awoke and looked in the mirror, he got a terrible scare. The Freddy glove that was stolen on the set of this film was found in another movie. It was hanging on the wall of the work shed in Evil Dead 2 from 1987, released the same year. It was part of a continued banter between directors Wes Craven and Sam Raimi. Chuck Russell gave an interview and gave a little more of an explanation as to the circumstances on how the glove was stolen. Apparently, 2 hardcore Freddy fans snuck into the set and disguised themselves as movie grips. Nobody had noticed the 2 throughout the day, and while on break, they grabbed the Freddy glove and left when no one was looking. At around 40 minutes, Robert Englund improvised quite a few of Freddy Krueger's one-liners, but the best-known example happened in the scene where Freddy emerged from the television set and killed Jennifer by smashing her head into it. For this scene, his line in the script was, "This is it, Jennifer, your big break on TV." Robert Englund said this line for the first 2 takes, but on the 3rd take, when Chuck Russell went for an alternate angled shot, Robert Englund changed it to, "Welcome to prime time, bitch." Chuck Russell couldn't decide which version to use, so he edited the 2 together. The different camera angle made it easy to edit the 2 lines together, and it became probably Freddy's defining one-liner. Number 4. Dreamscape and Other Ideas. The film marks the first time to show Freddy using his victims' weaknesses against them, and where the killings of the characters are personalized and objects to Freddy's punchlines. Dream Warriors was able to truly take the viewer into the dream world like never done before. Now we truly felt immersed into a perverted version of reality, a nightmare reality where Freddy Krueger could do anything imaginable. I remember talking with my friends about it back in the day, and we were all scared because Nightmare 3 was a power-up of the franchise that was fresh, scary, fun, and so damn cool. All of the sets and Dreamscape segments were bangers, and you can take that to the bank. For the sexy nurse scene, yes, we are talking about it again.
Give me all you got! Give me all you got!
The set was flipped so that Rodney Eastman was standing up when he appears to be strapped to the bed. He had to be spread eagle for so long that he actually passed out. He compared the experience to a crucifixion. Many scenes had a lot of real-world pain that was dealt with. The fire department was always on set during filming of the boiler room scene. The smoke from the machines nauseated many of the actors and actresses. With so many possibilities and ambition, not everything made it out of the cutting room. In the final shooting script, one of the warriors dream up a giant Transformers-style robot to fight Freddy.
Bullshit!
The sequence even made it into the storyboard stage, but budgetary constraints made filming it impossible.
And you blew it! You blew it!
Wes Craven's and Bruce Wagner's original script opened with Freddy's birth in a ranch-style house where infant Freddy cuts himself out of his mother's belly. Craven described the ranch as an architectural portal to Freddy's dreamscape, and this is where the Dream Warriors end up in their dreams rather than the house at 1428 Elm Street. Nancy and Neil were to have a sexual relationship, and it is gradually revealed that Freddy used to bring his child victims to his ranch, which became the source of his powers, explaining how he can keep coming back. Only Neil and Kristen survived the climax, but they managed to set the real building on fire. Afterwards, Kristen takes Freddy's knife glove and uses her powers to go back in time to Freddy's birth. The monstrous infant Freddy tries to kill her, So after slamming the baby against the wall many times to no avail, she finally stabs him to death with the glove. Not only was the screenplay much darker, profane, and horrific, it would have been far too costly to produce.
Oh shit!
And let me just say, some of that stuff was really weird. And I mean, look, if we're going to make an argument and criticize Freddy's Revenge, we gotta criticize this almost plan because wow. Director Chuck Russell and writer Frank Darabont toned much of this down by changing the characters, most of the key scenes taking place in the dream world and Freddy's backstory, while adding a lot of dark humor. Let's take a look at the official Why You Hate body count, shall we? We have 6 deaths in Dream Warriors: Philip Anderson, Jennifer Caulfield, Taryn White, Will Stanton, Donald Thompson, and unfortunately, Nancy Thompson.
Fuck this cowboy shit!
But it's bull, Rashid.
Number 5. Finale. The finale of Dream Warriors was electric. Gordon is trying to put Freddy to rest while the Dream Warriors fight Freddy on his own turf. Nancy shows her bravery and leadership, but 2 warriors, Will and Taryn, get killed. They were great nightmare sequences, by the way. Kristen, Kincaid, and Nancy go to rescue Joey, and just when all seems lost, Joey finds his power through his voice of all things. The unexpected death of Nancy shocked the shit out of me. Neil Gordon comes through in the end by burying Krueger's bones. Shout out to the old school stop motion for the skeleton. All in all, a great ending to a scary but even more fun Elm Street film. They were able to stick the landing and fans were satisfied. This movie, though, was intended to be the last Nightmare on Elm Street movie, and it was scripted that way. While the final shot of Dr. Gordon sleeping and the lights inside of the miniature house suddenly going on seems to suggest that Freddy may not be entirely dead, the shooting script makes it clear that this was not originally the intention. In an additional scene, Dr. Gordon visits Kristen a few days after Freddy's defeat. Kristen reveals that she is moving to New York, the city that never sleeps. Get it? When Dr. Gordon asks her if she's going to see her, referring to Nancy in her dreams, Kristen answers that she dreams of her every night, suggesting that Nancy guards her dreams. The scene then cuts to the ending, which plays out in the finished film as it was scripted, implying that Nancy, not Freddy, turns on the light as she is guarding Gordon's dreams as well. It is unknown if the preceding scene was shot, but by leaving the scene out and adding an ominous musical cue, it makes it appear as if Freddy is still alive. Both John Saxon, who played Lieutenant Thompson, and Robert Englund wrote unused story treatments for this movie. Saxon's was a prequel story called How the Nightmare on Elm Street All Began, which posed that Charles Manson and the Manson family had framed Freddy for all the child murders that they committed. Freddy, who was innocent, falsely confessed to these crimes under force from a mob of angry parents, who then proceeded to lynch him. He then comes back to avenge his wrongful death by targeting the parents' children. Englund's story was called Freddy's Funhouse, where the sister of Tina Gray, Freddy's first victim in the original Elm Street, returns to Springwood from college to investigate her sister's death. Freddy then claims the Dream World version of the 1428 Elm Street house and rigs it with booby traps like Nancy had once done against him. According to Englund, parts of his unused script were used in the pilot episode of the series, Freddy's Nightmares, from 1988. But even with all of these almost used ideas and the back and forth, the finished film did quite well. It's the 3rd highest grossing of the original Nightmare movies after Freddy vs. Jason in 2003 and A Nightmare on Elm Street 4: The Dream Master in 1988. And it is regarded as an absolute classic. At the end of the day, A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 gave us a sequel that was able to combine scares and cool together, even though fans of Part 2 felt betrayed, and we as fans must deal with it. You have to ask yourself, was this a film worthy to follow in the footsteps of the Elm Street franchise?
Give me all you got! Give me all you got!
Was it the best sequel of the franchise, or maybe the best film altogether? That is a question only you can answer. As always, this video is not here to make you love Dream Warriors or to hate it. It's simply a discussion to highlight the history and aspects of it, good or bad, with you, the viewer. So what do you think? Are you a fan? If so, tell us why. If not, let's discuss why you hate A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors. If you haven't hit the like button for more content, please do. If you're not subscribed to the Night Watch Zone, this is the time to do it, and become part of this fantastic movie community where you'll never love and talk about movies the same. If you like this video, check out my other Why You Hate videos and other content, including live streams here, and I'll see you there. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you are the Night Watch. Peace.